Good afternoon. We're going to go ahead and get started. There may be a few people who continue to trickle in, and that is absolutely fine. My name is Lucia Scholwer. I'm the current chair of the Sundays at 2 committee, and I'll introduce the rest of the committee to you in just a minute. But I wanted to take a few minutes to first welcome you to the 29th season of Sundays at 2. 29 seasons. So we've only missed one season, and that was due to COVID. So otherwise, this would be our 30th, but 29 seasons. So I want to tell you a little bit about how Sundays at 2 came into existence. Many of you may already know the story, but many of you may not. There was a woman named Gloria Wallace who several decades ago moved to the Northern Neck, and she was the chairman or the director of the board of directors for the library. And she decided that this community needed a, here, let me get this would probably help. Yes. So Gloria Wallace, several decades ago, started the Sundays at 2 program. And she ran it for 25 years. She was the stalwart chairman of the Sundays at 2. And she did an amazing job with it. She was a vibrant person, always seeking the best speakers. A few sort of facts and figures. Gloria, well, she did it. She was chairman for the full 25 years before she resigned. And then she remained active on the committee for another year. And then she died at the young age of 97. So she was a remarkable force of nature. But in these 29 sessions, 29 seasons, each of which includes 6 programs in the January to March timeframe, just as we have this year, we have had approximately 170 distinct speakers. So we've had a handful of speakers who have come twice, but otherwise it has been 170 distinct speakers who all talked about a variety of topics, art, history, the economy, history, technology, medicine, and all those things are reflected in this year's program as well. Going back a little bit to Gloria, when I joined the committee some 6 years ago, Gloria interviewed me to make sure that I was a worthy member of the committee. And that meant that, you had to say, what are you going to bring to it? Do you have a diversity of interests? What speakers can you draw? What are you going to bring to this committee? And after an hour, I was grateful that I passed. After Gloria passed away and she handed it over, Ernie Monshine, who is right back here, Ernie was the first chairman after Gloria, and that's pretty big shoes to fill. As I said, Gloria set a very high bar for us. And then this past fall, I took over as chairman with equally high bar to meet. Let me introduce you to the rest of our committee. We have 6 members of the committee, myself, Ernie, Sheila Stepko, Bud Ward, who is going to be introducing our speakers today, Pat Tracy, you met Ernie, and Sandy Toomey, back here. And then we have Alice Cooper, who is our ex officio member as the director of the library. So, yeah. As I said, the program is 6 speakers For the months of January, February, and March. This year, it's pretty evenly distributed, 2 in January, 2 in February, 2 in March. Just as a preview, you've got the full program available to you over there. But this season's includes our local business challenges. We have NASA, America's War on Drugs, organ donations, artificial intelligence, and adventures in the world of intelligence, aka spy stuff. So, we also welcome those of you today who are watching on Facebook, and if you're not able to watch live or be here in person, you can watch this program later on the library's YouTube channel. And so I think everybody has been given a survey as you came in. I ask you to please fill that in. We depend on your feedback as we build future programs. So we want the Sundays at 2 program to reflect what the community wants to hear and wants to learn about. So we welcome you to do that. With that, let me turn it over to Bud to introduce our speakers for today.
Thanks, Lucia. Well, welcome. I thought before we start, we live in a beautiful part of the country. We all know that, in the Northern Neck. And I thought we might take a moment to just take a moment of silence for our friends in Los Angeles who are going through such, no better term for it, such hell. So let's just take a moment of silence to wish them the best. Thank you. We've all heard it takes a village. Well, in this case, the village is Kilmarnock and larger, the Northern Neck. We've also heard it takes a family. And in this case, the family is the Veneys. Melvin and Darryl will join me at the front now, and they'll be making the primary presentations. But just as important are Caroline, Mrs. Veney here, and Dwayne, brother of Darryl, here. I'm going to hope that Mrs. Veney and Caroline and Dwayne will feel free to correct anything they say. It's a real pleasure to have the Veneys here. One other thing you'll learn, in addition to it's a family operation, is it's Veney. It's not Veney, it's not Veney, it's Veney. You'll be tested on that after. So our format is a little different from what we've done in past years, and I'll be asking some questions, and after their answers, I'll go on to the next question. We'll then have the usual opportunity for your own questions, and we'll have a mic available to you at that point. So let me start, if I may. Darryl, why don't you take this one? I'm going to take this one, hope it works. If not, someone will help me.
So I left out, I think perhaps the most important person to the success of this operation, Shelley Robertson, who is our technical guru.
So let me start. Melvin. Excellent. You put the mic to your mouth. You can stand up, sit down. As long as you speak loud, I'll be happy. Melvin, were you born and raised in the Northern Neck?
Yes, I'm born in what we call Churchfield. That's in Weems.
And you've lived all your life in?
Not all my life. Actually, my mother passed when I was young, and my father was a fisherman, and he fished in Greenport, Long Island, New York. Remarried, and my next oldest brother and myself moved to Greenport. Went to school in Greenport, and we went for about five years, and moved back to Virginia at that point.
And did you go to public schools in Lancaster County?
Yes, I did. I actually went, of course, I went to school in Greenport, Long Island, New York. Went to Brookvale, and in 1969 is when I went to Lancaster. That's for 1 year.
You didn't like it?
No. That was the end of it. I mean, I could talk about the segregation and all, but segregation was mandatory in '69, and so I went 1 year at Lancaster High School.
And you and Caroline met at Lancaster County High School, is that correct? I won't say how.
Now, we're talking about the heat and that, right? We met in Lancaster. We met at Brookvale.
Oh, Brookvale.
Brookvale, yes.
Okay. And when did the two of you actually found the company? How old were you guys when you founded the company?
I was 31, and Carolyn was 2 years younger. He was 31 at the time.
Okay. What were you doing before you founded the company? Were you working in the Northern Neck area?
I was in the military, and I was a generator operator and a diesel mechanic. Went to Germany, and within Germany, I went to school for air conditioning and refrigeration. Believe it or not. When I came back, I got myself a job at George Noble's. Worked with George Noble, worked there for 8 years. And I started out installing appliances, installing winning units, running wires for them and hooking them up, that type of thing. I actually go in the heating department. So I started installing ductwork with a guy named Milton Butler, 7 units. Did that for 5 years, and they put me in a truck, and then I was the head lead guy for about 3 years.
So those jobs obviously provided you the kinds of valuable experience that you then brought to Veneys. What year did you found Veneys?
Well, doing that type of work, I mean, I was doing the same work, and I decided that I would just give it a try for myself, just to see how it would work, you know, and my wife and I, we contemplated about it, and we decided, well, I can always go back to work if it don't work. Before I left, I did talk to a few people about installing some systems for them. And I had 2 or 3 jobs, so, and I was always working on different folks' units. We did all furnace, a lot of all furnace, a lot of oil stoves during that time. And I would be, you know, I would work on them, and you know, people would call anytime, and I would go and service things.
So what year did you found Veneys?
That was in
81.
1981. April of 81.
Very good, Melvin. You weren't then, and Don will join in at any point, you weren't then where you are now, were you?
Oh, no. Yeah.
So you worked out of your home for a while, and then you founded the company in a different location. You brought the company to a new headquarters.
Actually, in '96, we moved to the shopping center. Food Line Shopping Center, all the way to the right, we sold wood stoves, gas logs, small appliances. And we did that for 3 years, and in 89, that's when we moved to the location where we are now. We were in that small building that we moved on and back on Ricketts Avenue, contracted by Brother T.W. Morris is who we purchased that building for.
And how long have you been where you currently are?
We've been there since 89.
Do you own or rent that
We
building?
own that building and the land.
I want to ask the audience a question at this point. Show of hands. How many of you own a car? How many of you own more than one car? How many of you regularly get your car or cars inspected for safety inspections? Someone, we all agree safety inspections are important. How many also consider that exercise somewhat of a pain in the neck? The Veneys have 21 service vehicles. 21. That's not a mom and pop little operation. Let me ask Daryl. Sit down if you like, Melvin. Stand up. Make yourself known. Daryl, is the business more seasonal? Are you busiest in summer months when it's miserable here, or in winter months?
It's more seasonal. I would say, obviously, when it's hot and summertime and cold in the winter, the equipment seems to be under more stress, so you have more failures. So yes, during the summer and the winter months.
Is one more busy than the other?
I would say no, but in the wintertime, it's more urgent. Because you have, pipes and things like that can freeze as well. So at least in the summertime, you can maybe open up a window, turn on the fan, but it's nowhere to go when it's cold. So.
Yeah. What can you all say about the early years at Veney? What were your major challenges, your major opportunities in getting this iconic company up and running?
Well, for me, I can't speak about the early years because I came in and I graduated in 2002. I see Miss Crowley, you probably remember that. I took night classes in Hampton at Thomas Nelson. So from 2002, some of the earlier challenges I seen then was just basically, I think finding the work at that time, having enough work, building upon that is what the challenges that I saw during that time.
Now, what about you in those very earliest years? What were the initial challenges, the initial opportunities you saw?
Well, I didn't think about challenging that much. I just wanted to go out and do the best job I can for my customers. And speaking about the far as the work go for summer versus winter, for me, the summertime was stressful because I sort of worked when the sun come up and when the sun go down. So when the wintertime came, it was good. I didn't have to hear it. Hey, you're working all the time. Didn't have to.
For me, even when it was dark, it was out there. So.
Daryl worked, in my experience, Daryl works 7 days a week, 12 months a year, and usually somewhere between 28 and 32 hours a day. I asked him if he's going to work after this.
Yeah.
He is. And he came from work this morning. Do you remember particularly good or bad years during both of your stints with the company? Were there good years where everything went really well? And were there bad years when maybe you lost money throughout that year? Is that an experience you all have had?
Well, I would say, not normally gonna be looking at the money, as long as it keep coming in. But I tell you, a good year is when a contractor walked into the office and said, can you bid on this dollar store in Lobby? That was a good year. We did that, and at the same year, another contractor from North Carolina walked into the office with a set of plans to bid on those apartments behind Kilmarnock Lettering. And from that time, that really launched the business. Dwayne and Darryl started looking for those types of jobs. And that made that business grow tremendously.
To piggyback off of that, 2008 was probably was rough. And, you know, I remember going home around lunchtime. Recession time. There was no work. It was like, man, you know. I remember sitting, I'm looking at CNN and Fox and market's horrible, and I'm pretty sure you guys remember it was kind of scary. I was young, coming into myself, trying to figure out my future, and I just kept contemplating. I said, man, there's got to be another way, right? Like right now, people just didn't have the money. The money they did have, they tried to put it away and save. They were scared. A lot of people nervous during that time. So they were cutting back. And one of the first things that they were cutting back on, obviously, is some of your routine maintenances and stuff, try to just to get by. And so for us, you know, we had to look at, like, what can we do? Like, what is it there? There's no other option. I'm not going to food line, bag groceries, you know, that was an option for me. Like, what can we do? And during that time, like, piggyback off what my dad was saying, you know, we started to try to find other options because we just knew there was no other option. So we had to do something.
What about the COVID years? How were they for the company?
For us, COVID, we really didn't have a problem with COVID. I mean, the biggest issue was the contractors wanted us there to work. You know, we at that time, we had already developed a decent base to where we had work. It was just, at that time, it was scary because we just didn't know what to do. I think I was trying to get my mother and father to stay at home because you just didn't know what was going on. You didn't know, it just was kind of a scary time. For us, it was just a matter of the contractors wanted us there to work anyway, so yeah, we had work, yes.
Nolan?
Well, it was one job that shut down.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
for a week.
Yeah. But one thing about being in this type of business, I mean, you know, people need heating when they need it. And they need cooling when they need it. You know, so you just keep on going. You know, you put your mask on and you keep it on.
What is the geographic area you all cover? We know your vehicles, we see them every day around Kilmarnock and Northern Neck area. Where's your business? And are you primarily commercial or are you primarily residential?
We do both. Our primary service area is the Northern Neck Middle Peninsula. But on our install / new construction side, we've been all over Virginia. It just, you know, when you have work, when you've been through 2008, and those are some of the things that we kind of remember, like, we're not turning down anything. So if you have a customer that has a job a little bit further, maybe a little bit out your comfort zone, but you just think back, I remember when I didn't have a job, I remember when I didn't have the work to lean on, and so you say, you know what, that's where we gotta go. That's what the job is, yes.
So what's the geographic scope, geographic area you
We've
cover?
been as far as Roanoke and Lynchburg, Virginia Beach, Warrenton, Leesburg. Our furthest job, I'm not saying, I don't think it was furthest, but One of our contractors, LF Jennings, they did a project in Frederick, Maryland. We've been as far as Frederick, Maryland.
You've got a lot of satisfied customers. I got several messages from residents of Northern Neck who are currently in Florida and have been there since October, November, pick a month. And they read in the record that we were doing this. They said, I didn't know that. I didn't know you were doing that January 12th. I might have stayed longer. But they actually asked to be reminded. They asked to be reminded to you guys that they respected the work you've done for it. One is Bill Griggs. Some of you may know Bill. He's lived here forever, lives in Whitestone. But he made a call and said, I would have stayed if I had known. So anyway, Bill said to me, can I get his name into this program? And I said, no way. But I did. How does a small business like yours stay abreast of the fast-moving technology changes that are occurring in your industry? How do you manage to stay abreast of what's going on? Specifically, maybe this is an off-base question. Are we someday going to see Veney working in the solar field?
Can be a long-winded question, but I would say, well, the units are changing year after year. SEER ratings used to be 8. Just a few years ago, they were 13. Now they're all up to 24 SEER. So with that, they have new technology within the equipment. We just have to stay trained up. That's the only way you can. Some of the equipment, they won't even allow you to sell unless you use continuing education classes. So we just have to make sure we keep our technicians and ourselves educated.
Dwayne, want to say anything on that? Let me give Dwayne the mic.
Yeah, Darrell is absolutely right. Keep our technicians trained.
Hold up.
For as solar goes, that is something that we could explore for like the solar industry, but that is something that is outside of our, what we do. But we always keep our options open, when it comes to that. But no, we're not in the solar business. I think we stay busy enough. And one thing I want to say, we do appreciate our customers, our local customers. It's one of the things, we always try to keep our price point low. And we're always trying to find qualified technicians to come into the area. So we do reach out in other areas. We have a technician that lives in Richmond. We have a technician in Gloucester area. And we're always trying to find qualified people. And we're always negotiating as well with our suppliers. Always trying to lower costs. And that's one of the reasons why we decided to go out of the area to get more work, because we figure the more quantity we have, the more we can negotiate with our suppliers. If you're buying in bulk, then we can pass on the cost savings to the homeowners. And like Darrell mentioned, back in 2008 recession, we definitely don't want to go back there. So I think that's sort of sparked like motivation in us to like continue to thrive. And during that time period, I must say like the Northern Neck really held us down. Like our foundation with the Northern Neck and the customers here really held us down. So everyone here, we definitely appreciate it. And we just try to provide the best service we can.
How many employees does Veney currently have?
We have 25 right now.
What's the largest number of employees you've ever had at one point? Is it 25?
Yes, sir. It's about 25 right now. Yeah, this is the largest. And there's always room to expand. There are a lot of projects out there, and there are like a lot of customers that we can like reach. I guess one challenge is, we're talking about challenges, that this finding qualified key employees, managers, supervisors, and we always in search, for talent. And once we get these type of group in, and I think we do well in retaining people or keeping people here in-house because, we allow our employees to think for themselves, we allow for them to, give us advice, situation, where they can be free about to move and help us out because we're not the smartest, like us owners are not the smartest people. We know the work, we know how to get jobs, but we need smart people around us to make the operation flow. So I think that's one thing we do good is finding key talent.
It must be difficult to find the employees you need in a community like ours, where many of us are past retirement, post-retirement. So none of us are looking for work here. But how do you go about keeping and building an employee workforce in this particular climate we have in the Northern Neck, where young people often want to get up and go?
I'll say word of mouth. Just finding young men that want to do something with themselves. I could give you an example. Dwayne met our service manager. He was working the drive-thru at McDonald's. He was a young man, I think he was 18 at the time. And he basically asked me, he said, hey, Dwayne, I said, hey, guy, whatever, I'm gonna be your man. But he basically said he wanted to do something else. He wanted to change. And so Dwayne told him to come in. He seemed like a really nice young man. He was well-mannered, said yes, sir, and no, sir to him. And that's been about 6 years ago. He's currently our service manager now. So just sticking with them, teaching them, being patient with them as well as them having patience. And then that's kind of how we've been able to keep them maintained.
The backstory there is that Dwayne was picking up a burger and fries at the McDonald's in West Point. Yeah, West Point. And the guy kept saying to him at the window, he'd say burger and fries, and the guy would say, are you hiring? This is all true. I got this. Am I right so far?
Yes.
You're correct.
So Dwayne is clearly a social climber.
And also, and this gentleman has drive because he was attending RCC at the time. I found out later he came off with application. So he was already enrolled in school. So we had no choice but to hire him. You see a young man, he already took the first initial step in community college, going for heating and air conditioning. I said, this is who we need, and then we can sort of coach him and sort of be a mentor to him and help him grow.
Okay, before I ask you to address the opportunities and challenges you see coming ahead in the future, next couple of years, I want to tell the audience, we're going to not break, but we're going to go to your questions and answers in a couple of minutes. I hope you'll have them. We'll have a mic carried to you. We'll ask you to introduce yourself. We don't care where you went to junior high school, but ask you to briefly introduce yourself and ask a few questions. So the opportunities and challenges in the next 2 to 3 years, what are they going to be? What do you see coming down the road?
I would say the challenges are regulatory changes. We have a lot of new inspectors coming in, so they are bringing in different codes and regulations to our area, which I think is good. The advantage that we have, I think, in a sense, is we've already seen these regulations in place in other areas. So a lot of times these guys will come from Richmond, Newport News, Northern Virginia, where we already have the equipment to address a lot of the regulations that they're bringing in. So I say regulatory changes is probably the biggest challenge for the next few years.
As a growth standpoint, I think we did pretty good the last few years. So I think as long as we can maintain our current growth, it's good. If we want to expand, that's when it comes into effect where we need supervisors, managers to come in. And that is something that we thought about, but of course with any growth you have to be strategic when it comes to making those kind of decisions because you don't want to grow too fast as well.
And one thing in growing, we always need new employees, especially servicemen. So that's always been a challenge from day one. Servicemen, and we'll train them and try to keep them. That's a challenge also.
So let's assume there's a junior or senior in Lancaster High School or Westmoreland or Northumberland High School, and they're only wishing they could stay in a place like this once they get out of school. What's your advice to them? They want to work in this area, they want to work for a company like Veneys, if not Veneys. What's your advice to them?
Be patient. In this day and age, TikTok, everything's 10 seconds, 30 seconds. You just gotta have patience. That's the biggest thing that I think that our young men and women need to understand. That nothing worth having is gonna come easy, and it's just not gonna be tomorrow. Just practice patience.
And also in this area, in order to be constructive, you have to have a trade or a skill. And I know you all homeowners know, like, you're trying to find somebody to do your roof, have a tough time. You're trying to find somebody to do landscaping, have a tough time. But I think if kids just go to school just to learn a basic trade and a skill, they can earn a living for themselves. And then at the same time, being patient, once they get that trade and skill, just be patient and grow. It's a slow growth. And I learned that over the years, even for myself, early on, I know Mr. Ward, I attended Thomas Nelson Community College. I was a service technician, I was an installer, and the pay wasn't all that great. It wasn't all that great at the time, right? I mean, I just have to be honest, but as I've grown into it, and once I started learning the business aspect of HVAC, and then I understood that, okay, how can we generate more revenue? When I start getting into the business aspect of it. But yeah, for young adults, people that get out of school, I would say just learn a skill and a trade, and you have to be valuable to your employees. Like, you have to be valuable to people, because people will call you back if you spend the time and you be a professional in what you do. So you have to be a professional in what you do, and you have to learn the skill and trade and be patient.
We're going to take questions. Your questions, if you just raise a hand, we'll bring. Let me say I appreciate the attendance today. I appreciate, in particular, Sharon Baptist Church, which the Veneys are active members, for what they've done to share a word about this today. So good to have you here. I hope to see you again more often. Starting next Sunday. But there's a question right back here.
How many geothermal systems have you installed? And if the number's 0, why?
I don't know the exact number, but quite a few. Quite a few. I think, Wayne, you actually have one in your home. Yeah. So I pushed that on him. I mean,
Well, over the years, it's too many to count how many geothermals we've done, but geothermals is basically like a heat pump system, and we use a well driller, a local well driller, that actually like do the wells in ground, and the wells inside of the ground, the water, the liquid that's in it actually cools down the compressor. So the geothermal is not relying on the outside air, right? So it can be 100 degrees outside, but the geothermal is gonna run as efficiently as possible because it's using the cool water in the ground to keep it cool. It's not using outside air. So it's not putting stress on the heat pump. And that's the same thing in the wintertime as well. It can be 20 degrees or negative degrees outside. It don't matter what temperature it is outside. Use the groundwater in order to cool down the compressor. So operate very efficiently, and it definitely saves a lot of money on your electric bill. But the initial cost is mostly on the wells in the ground.
Does it use electricity though?
Yes, ma'am, it does use electricity, but it doesn't need the electric backup. And the electric backup is what drives your electric bill. Yes, ma'am.
We have geothermal.
Speak up.
We have geothermal and we love it, and we're neighbors of the Veneys, and they're the most wonderful neighbors.
You had mentioned that, trade schools, are you involved in promoting your business in the local school system?
The question was, are you involved in working with trade schools, vocational schools, from a business standpoint to help work with up-and-coming employees, students?
No, we haven't been involved with them, as of yet, but,
In our younger days, we used to work with Rappahannock Community College, and we would have students to come in and work for us. We could train them, and Rappahannock Community College would pay half of their salary, and they would work for a period of time. But because of this field is so, like to say, we work for long hours, a lot of the young people didn't like that. So they sort of walked away. Oh, this is too much for me. I have to work too many hours. They didn't stay with us long.
Yeah, I think that's probably was about 10 years ago. We worked with RCC, and I'm not sure if there's any programs going on right now. There may be. If we want to explore that avenue, we just have to just make contact and just ask them what options out there. Like maybe there are some programs where they would pay kids salaries to go to school.
I think for the most part though, we're looking for the young people to make the first step. Come in, show that you're interested, and then you invest from there. A lot of times if you go out and you just say, hey, look guys, I'm gonna give you a free education. You don't know really, are they gonna stay with you? Are they really passionate about it? Do they really want it? So if you see a young man, in particular like Kenneth, if he's coming to you and showing that he wants it, then you would invest back into him. So that's what we look for first most of the time.
Another speaker right here.
Hi, I'm from Middlesex County, where racism is rampant. It has been since I was born there in 1955. So my question to you is, was racism a big challenge for you when you started as far as customers and trying to get equipment?
Well,
Well,
I get my father.
we don't think about it. You know, I think for us, I can't speak, I'm gonna speak for my time on, and he can speak from before, but you don't think about it. In life, there's always gonna be challenges, right? And for us, I think the biggest thing for us is we say, look, what can we do? Look in the mirror every day and see and say, what can we do to be better, right? If that door is closed, you just gotta go to the next one to see if it'll open up. There's no need for us to dwell on what we can't control. Control what we control, put the left foot in front of the right foot and keep going.
What say you, Father?
Well, I really didn't think about it that much, to be honest with you. I mean, most of the folks that we started out, we was working for quite a few black folk, if you want to put it that way. And most of it was just servicing and doing, we put some systems in, actually put one in for Rice's Inn. But most of the people that we worked for were older white folk. That's the truth. Yeah, that's the most people that we work for.
What about
When
you
we
trying to
first
get
started.
equipment? What about trying to get
No
equipment?
problem. As long as you had money to pay for it. Now we were selling brown equipment, and we sold quite a bit of it. So much so, the first trip, but they was giving trips at the time. The first trip we went on, we went down through the Panama Canal on a boat. That was number one. And every year after that, for about 20 years, I imagine, or more, every year we was going somewhere on a trip through carrier, a free trip. and they would give you drinks from the time you got in the bus. Going to catch the airplane. When you get on the airplane, you got tickets where you can buy drinks. And I'm telling you, it was pandemonium on it.
Okay, just one more little question. I hear you saying servicemen. Do you have any female technicians or?
Well, we had one. We had one lady at one point, but then she left and went to
Another company.
yeah, she left. But let me tell you one more thing about drinking. Because I haven't drank anything in, I don't know, maybe 35 years or better. And one of the main reasons I didn't, because there was a man, I'm trying to think of his name. I'll think of it in a minute. But he called me one evening, wanted me to come work on his furnaces. And I told him, well, I had a few beers, no problem, I'll come get you. He wanted me working for I was drinking. So anyway, I went there, it's right in town. Mr. Carson, that's his name. He used to own the Boys and Girls Club before it burnt down. That man. And I went and worked on his furnace, and from then on, I got to, because people just called me all through the night. Because during that time, I was the only service person. I was the only installer. I was everything. And that was the one thing that made me stop drinking.
My name is Lloyd Hill. Mr. Veney, we thank you for 40 years plus of service. You've been a valuable asset to our community. I'm happy to report that during that time, my family has been with you all the way. And I'm happy to report that we've been very, very happy. You say what you mean and mean what you say, and I appreciate that. My question to you is, during that time, many businesses have come and many have gone, and we realize that sometimes luck and timing is all very important. But what would you contribute to your success? If you'd had to narrow it down to one or two things that has allowed you to stay in business while so many others has failed, what would those things be?
Well, actually, the number one thing is to service the customer. When someone calls, show up. And if you're late going, I pull my phone out. Hey, I'm 5 minutes from you. I'm on my way. Let them know you're coming. And that is the main thing. People don't like to be waiting, and I don't want them to wait. I think that's the main thing.
Yeah, he hit the nail on the head. And also, to spending long hours, we're always thinking about the customer. We're always thinking about what we can do better, and it's just spending long hours. I mean, and it's almost could be unhealthy in your personal life. I mean, we think about this work 24/7, like on weekends, about what can I do Monday morning to show up to make sure we're there for our customers. And that's important. I think that goes a long way.
I like to say one thing. I like to say faith. Because we take steps, we'll sit around and talk about things. And well, I know, how are we gonna do this? But you take that step and don't be afraid and keep stepping and stepping. Before you know it, you're at the top of the ladder. Not that we're at the top of the ladder, but you keep stepping and have faith. You don't know where it's gonna take you, but as long as you are trying. That's my word. Having faith.
Another thing to keep you in business, you can't spend all your money. That's the truth. You gotta save. You gotta save some, because you never know when you're gonna need to jump over there and just take a little bit to pay a bill or do something. Even when we were coming up before we even started business, we always had a little bit of money in the bank. We need some tires. I encourage everyone to save some money. If it's only 25 cents a day, put it aside. Before you know it, you have a pile of money. Yeah, save some money. That's another thing that kept us in business. For sure, even here shortly.
Daryl and Dwayne, You both are graduates of Lancaster, I'm sorry, I'm over here.
Okay.
I'm Sue Donaldson. You're both graduates of Lancaster High School. There are other high schools in the area. What would you suggest that the high school should be doing to prepare our local students better, or things in addition they're doing? What would you suggest?
I think so much of their schooling, they push kids toward like just the 4-year colleges all the time. I think that there needs to be more of a concerted effort back to trades. You know, the biggest thing is because, you know, a lot of these kids I've seen are getting out of 4-year schools and always dead and no job. It's every trade is looking for someone. Like there's a shortage. Like we need people. Heating, electrical, plumbing, building. You know, if we could somehow, the schools would have some programs for kids to use their hands more, I think that would help. That's a big thing that would help in the community. I'm pretty sure you guys know, I mean, you're always looking for someone to do something, and it's just a shortage. There's not enough people there.
Yeah, and even if the student decides to go to a 4-year school, I think it need to be an effort to why am I going to a 4-year school? And making sure that they have a job after that 4-year college. Not just going just to be going. But I would definitely push them into the trades more for those who are undecided about going to a 4-year school. You know, maybe do 2 years of community college, then if they decide to transfer later to a university, then they can do that. And also the point of having maybe more VOTEC. Now, I'm not sure how the Lancaster school is set up between the high school and VOTEC, but, you know, we have hired some adults who can't use a drill, you know, who don't have the fundamentals of how to handle a certain tool. And like, we said, oh my gosh, like this is bad, you know, you have to go back and sort of teach them the fundamentals when it comes to that. So this, I guess if they can just identify, and I think all kids should have like some sort of like hands, you know, how you cut grass, how you weed, how you use a drill, hammer. I think all men should be able to,
and women.
So, yeah, that's.
I wouldn't say that women need to be able to do that stuff too.
At least have the knowledge to help yourself.
And then maybe they can teach their sons.
The women, well.
Okay, we got next questions right here.
Good afternoon. I am Frank Johnson. And yes, the two things I'll say. The first thing, the most beautiful experience, customer service related, that I've had from any service provider, regardless of what trade or what have you, actually came from one of your technicians. The young man called, did everything you said. Called, hey, 5 minutes away, I'm here. You know, knocked on the door, yes sir, walked around. He communicated clearly what the issue was, what the problem was. It almost brought a tear to my eye because customer service, you don't really find that too much nowadays, even though we are a nice people in our rural, wonderful area here. But I want to say thank you for that. Now, the second thing, I just kind of offer this through the audience and, you know, maybe through your own networks, but when I heard you say, Dwayne, that, well, your company, you go beyond the service region, you have a vision, you think beyond the northern neck, because if you get your volume up, that then could be a business decision or potentially savings for us here, potentially, especially if you encounter customers who need that kind of assistance with their money, but need your service. So thank you for that vision to do that. But that also tells me about banking. And so if anyone in here, this entire room, or what have you, I would offer that you might consider inviting some of the family here that you see to be bank directors, try to get them on bank boards if they're interested in it. This is now what it's all about. We talk about money, we talk about healing, we talk about race relations, but now the future of banking here in the northern neck. It's right in front of us too. Thank you.
Thank you for that.
I have one thing. This is my uncle and my aunt, and through the years, I always wanted to build a house. So I would call him and he would tell me what heating system to put in. But anyway, I finally got here in 2008. And I also want to say, my uncle, I don't know if he told you, because I missed the first 10 minutes of this thing. But my uncle came from a family of 14 brothers and sisters. And one of the things that I remember his father saying was, too much work will never kill a man. So, there you have it. But, and the other part of it is I always seen a love of what he did for his business. I had called him a couple of times when I was up north, and he came and did some things up there. But when I got here in 2008, I settled on my home in September. In December, it was cold, and my house wasn't warm. So I called my uncle, and so he said, well, I would be right over. It was December the 24th of 2008. And so he went underneath of my house, and he fixed something underneath of there that was a big round pipe that didn't have no, so when he came from underneath the house, I say, Uncle, how much do I owe you? He went in his car and he got a poinsettia, and he gave me a poinsettia. And he told me I didn't owe him anything. And I think through the years, when you love what you do, it is not work. If you work from 5 o'clock in the morning till 7 o'clock at night, it's not work. You love what you do. And so when these young gentlemen here, when they came along, they tried to make him sit down. Yeah. But they ain't do it. They probably keep on trying, but they haven't done it yet. But I love my family, and I thank my high power for them, and I know that he will go, and they will go even further because of the love of what they do. Yeah.
With one more question here. I don't know if we have a question in the back, because that Christmas story reminds me of one. So if you want to talk about that one briefly, we can do that.
And we will have the opportunity when we break for coffee, tea, and cookies. You can continue to engage the Veneys and ask questions and have more conversation. So, William.
Yeah, thanks. William Smith, I'm a customer, but I've also been a friend of you guys for quite some time and have known you a long time. I will let everyone here know, I know who the boss is of this operation. But seriously, I think it would help all of us here with 4 very educated, independent individuals. It would be helpful for us to know what each of you bring to the table and what your daily operations are. And the second question I have is, with you guys being so close as a family and working together every day, 15 to 20 hours a day, I know you guys don't always agree. How do you keep the business and your personal separate?
That's a good question. Well, what I do for the company primarily, I'm an estimator and / project manager. So I give out bids, I give out pricing, customers call, most of the time the pricing is coming from me. And also, I'll also manage the larger projects, and we have my field guys, the foreman guys out in the field, so I'm always communicating with them. And also when it comes to when we purchasing equipment, like in bulk and stuff like that, I'm always negotiating with our supplier, and I'm making sure the guys get what they need on the job site.
Well, I come in the morning, every morning. Take out the trash. Make sure all the trash is up. And I do go out and look at jobs at times when Dal can't make it, or he's overloaded, and I'll go out and look at one. I'll go out in the shop, cut up some metal if I need to, make some duck, like our shop man, he's off this week. And I've made a few pieces of duck pretty easy, because we've got 2 machines in there. One of them we call a plasma machine. Take the screw and you set just what you want, and it'll cut it all out for you. You take it off and fold it and all. Then we got another machine that actually make square duck. So it's pretty easy. You just put the numbers in there, go, hit the button, and she'll make it. But that's probably what I do. Every morning, I definitely take the trash out.
No, I come in the morning, I get the guys out, I pretty much look at the schedule and kind of, I work with all the employees in the morning for the field. And then I think I'm pretty much the fixer. If there's a problem, I end up having to help out at the end to make sure it gets done. So that's pretty much it.
And also the last question that Mr. Smith asked is like, do we bump heads together? Like, do we agree on everything? All the time. But great question. But I think we work well together for so long that, you know, we do have like disagreements, or we're trying to decide like where to go, or what rules should we make, or what should we invest in, or what should we buy a vehicle now, or should we buy this machine? So it's always like conversations. And there is times where we do bump heads, and it can get heated, it can get angry, but we sort of go our separate ways, and then we come back to the table. I say, "Daryl, yeah, I guess you're right, man. I guess you're right." So just to, you know, and but I think, you know, we all have the best interests of the company and the best interests of our customers at heart. That we make sure that we serve everybody, and making sure that we show up on time and do a proper job at a reasonable price. So.
One more question.
Yes, the question was raised, what do you have suggestions you might have for the school, the high school? My suggestion would be that you all are speakers there.
Right.
We had a little bit of that conversation at lunchtime. We're, in the interest of time, we're gonna.
I want to pick one more.
Okay. I'm getting my steps in.
Good evening. Hey, my name is Gary Holbrook, and I live in Weems. And Daryl, we told our daughter we were coming here today, and she told me to tell you hello. We've been a Veney customer since about 1992, and 3 weeks ago, Mr. Veney was over at the house. We had no heat, and within a day, we had heat. If I talk about Mr. Veney and his company, there's a couple things. Number one, you return phone calls, thank you, and then honesty and integrity. I'm involved in a building in Westmoreland up in Montrose, and they were like, you know, who can we get for the heating and air conditioning? Of course, we called Veney. They came up the next day, and we got all that straight. But one thing too, I know service technicians are one of your biggest problems, and it's, some people have alluded to the VOTEC schools that we have here in Warsaw, and also through RCC. Daryl, you'd be a great speaker and give those guys 2 particular organizations guidance on what needs to be done in VOTEC. And it's just not heating and air conditioning, it's electricians, carpenters, welders, whatever. So I would ask that you please get involved in that. I think you would be a great asset and give them some great guidance. And thank you guys for everything that you do.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to say I appreciate all of our customers from coming out. a lot of times you hear, what are we doing, but at the end of the day, if we don't have great or good employees or loyal customers like you all, we wouldn't be here either. So we appreciate you guys continuing to trust us in your home. We really appreciate that too. I see a lot of customers here that long-term customers, and we want to say thank you as well.
And I didn't get no pond setter either.
Also, Mr. William Smith, who stood up earlier and asked the question, he's been a long-time banker. He works at Blue Ridge Bank, and also EDB Bank, and I believe was it Bank of Lancaster?
Yes, yeah.
Back in the day, and so he worked with us a lot with different financing pieces and help us acquire land and property. So it takes people, like him, and also take other great people who see what we're trying to do and open up doors for us. And just like I think Darryl was saying, like how if one door shuts, the other one will open. So it do take people to actually see your value and worth, and we wouldn't be who we are without people like that.
With that, I want to thank you so much to the Veney family for coming out and sharing your incredibly inspiring and uplifting story with us. We are delighted to know you and to be have you be such an integral part of our community. And I echo some of the comments, because I already said at lunchtime, I'd love to see y'all get involved with some of the youth in this area to share your perspective that came from your mom and dad, and pass that on, because we pay it forward. So with that, I want to thank you all for coming to our first session. We have 5 more. Please pick up one of the brochures, the flyers, for the rest of the program. And I invite you to step out into the lobby here and have coffee and tea and cookies made by the committee. So come on out. Thank you.